everyone remembers this match. Specifically, that it changed the perception of WWE, changed the wrestling world as we all know it, and pretty much altered how storylines were planned and whatnot, and the acknowledgement of other wrestling companies after WCW and ECW's untimely demises. Well, maybe not WCW. But, yeah. The main event of Money in the Bank 2011 between John Cena and CM Punk was regarded as an instant classic, and really, there's like only one thing that should have been changed, but honestly, I'll get to that in a moment. CM Punk pinned John Cena in a non-title match on June 13th episode of Raw, and then became a #1 contender for it after winning a triple threat Falls Count Anywhere match against Del Rio and Rey Mysterio on the June 20th the following week. After the match, Punk said his WWE contract would expire at midnight on July 17th, immediately after Money in the Bank pay-per-view ended. Punk vowed to win the championship and leave the company with it, and that started the interesting trend here. This would start the proceedings of what would become the pipe bomb promo. So everyone was interested, like, wow, they're really acknowledging that. Like, are they going for something here? Like, at the time, there was no such thing as a concept of reality era storytelling where they really broke character and said on television that, yeah, I'm leaving, yeah, get used to it, I'm taking the belt with me. Like, you could say Montreal Screwjob led to everything that happened, but that was more like, yeah, if Bret Hart was, like, yeah, like, you could make the argument that, yeah, the Montreal Screwjob was pretty much the start of the reality storylines, which is true, but it's not like they would go out and publicly say a contract would expire or that he's leaving. They would never really say that, but then they start to when Goldberg and Brock Lesnar were leaving, with Brock Lesnar leaving WWE to do NFL, which lasted for like less than a year, I think, and went back into professional wrestling and then went to UFC. Yeah, that was worth it. The NFL part. And and then they start to acknowledge more and more reality stuff, but they would never address the wrestling businesses that exist outside WWE. They like to be their own little world, this self-contained world where there is no WCW anymore, there's no ECW anymore, so therefore there's no other wrestling company in existence, even though all these guys keep coming from somewhere. Probably because Vince hates everything that he doesn't own or create, because it was always that perception that if you grew, Vince would immediately stomp you and also take all your talent in the process. And then on the next episode of Raw, Punk screwed John Cena out of a tables match against the, at the time, heel R-Truth, who I keep thinking had his best work to date on there, and then delivered the infamous pipe bomb promo where he said that he respected John, he liked John, but he doesn't respect him. And that's led to several things. One would be how he berated WWE for not promoting him properly. Punk calling Cena Hogan, breaking the fourth wall there when he basically mentioned Hogan being in TNA, and The Rock being ass kissers, and John Laurinaitis insulted WWE management, including Chairman Vince McMahon and, like I said, John Laurinaitis. In addition, he talked to the camera and said, "Hey, Colt Cabana, how you doing?" After he had said that if he wins, he's going to defend the WWE Championship by wrestling in other companies such as Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. And there is nothing to change on that promo. Like, that reflected everything that's wrong with the company in terms of how its management is. Like, you have the triumvirate. Like, I would have loved if they added in Kevin Dunn. But at the time, Kevin Dunn wasn't really big in terms of notoriety when it came to fans. Like, if Punk did the promo today, if he was still around, he probably wouldn't name drop Kevin Dunn as the fourth ass kisser. But at the time, you had this triumvirate. You had Vince McMahon, you had John Laurinaitis, and you had John Cena, who pretty much were kissing up to Vince in every single way possible. Nexus. And, yeah. And after he had said all this, his mic got cut off. Especially, I think at the same episode, he was talking to Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that's where the seeds were planted that they would do a match, which would have been awesome, but I'll talk about that dream match that never happened later. As a result of his promo, Punk was given a storyline suspension and stripped of his championship match. Cena confronted McMahon that following week and threatened to walk out on him and return the WWE Championship if Punk was not reinstated. And he also indirectly mentioned Hulk Hogan by saying the word brother. Yeah, I'm not surprised. McMahon relented on the condition that if Cena lost the title, he would be fired. On the next episode of Raw, Punk did this huge promo with a microphone and name dropped the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club, and that was hilarious. And then John Cena came out and did his trademark stuff. But on that same episode, McMahon tried to sign Punk to a new contract to ensure that the WWE Championship would stay in WWE regardless of who wins or loses. McMahon agreed to Punk's demands, which was basically everything humanly possible, including a jet, and apologized to Punk as well, and also name-dropping Colt Cabana and Luke Gallows, who were not part of the company. Because when a guy leaves the company, they just try to not make it sound like he ever existed. And then would bring, unless they're a legend, and then bring them back in mentioning when they return to the fold. Yeah. Nowadays, you would hear them mention other former stars that weren't really legends. Like that, unless their partner's involved, or they mention that there's a similar matchup or something like that, or a similar history. Like they would do that, but back then it was a little bit different. And by little, I mean greatly. So, before Vince McMahon could sign the new contract that had absurd requests, Cena interrupted the proceedings, and yeah, Punk calling Cena everything that he says he's against, he became. Yeah, that is honestly true. It resulted in Cena punching Punk, and so Punk tore up the agreed contract in response. So, prior to the match, during the middle of the show, Punk and Vince were in, quote, negotiations, and they had pretty much not agreed to a contract storyline. I'll get to the reality stuff after the match. So, the two... And okay, to keep a long story short, I love this match. It was awesome. It was everything you wanted, except for one thing. And no, surprisingly, it's not a John Cena heel turn. But, you see, there was one thing I kind of wish they did do. And that was the whole Montreal-style screw job. Because at that point, they'd done it so many times, it was becoming desensitized with fans. But when it was also announced that Cena would fight, and if he lost, he would be fired, I thought, oh, well, here we go, it's predictable. Because, well, whenever someone says, oh, you'll get fired if you don't win this match, that automatically means they're going to win the match. And I was worried when that happened. And this match lasted for a long time, longer than usual nowadays. Normally you get 26, you get the closest to 26 minutes or so, unless it's an Iron Man match, then they go for an hour or overtime. But this was 33 minutes, and this wasn't an Iron Man match. So that was really saying something about this whole, how serious this moment was, and the commentators were actually much better than usual. And they were, and even though Michael Cole was a heel, a very stupid, cartoonish heel, and was somewhat more entertaining than the Michael Cole we have now, because now Michael Cole is a precedent for that, because of Mauro Ranello's uniqueness. Therefore, you gotta be like Michael Cole, you can't be unique. Yeah, I'm so tempted to talk about the controversy regarding Mauro Ranello and WWE. I am just so tempted. So, yeah, here's what I think that they should not have done. They should have tried to redo the Montreal screw job, and Cena, being the honorable man that he is, broke the hold and attacked Laurinaitis and told Vince McMahon that he's doing it his way. which kind of contradicts the whole Cena sucked up to Vince every single time, because Cena would have just done this, agreed to this idea, and done it anyways. That could have led to a heel turn, but that's not what the problem was. It's the fact that this match really should have ended with a decisive, clean finish, not with a tainted win for Punk, because I get storyline-wise, let me say that, but because they need to progress certain things. But I always felt like it should have been a clean fall. It should not have been a straight up Cena has an excuse, therefore he's not tainted, and therefore children don't lose faith in him. God, I hate that reasoning. Like, to this day, they still have that excuse when Cena loses a clean match, then they have to do and bury somebody and just, oh, well, you see, you see, oh, I got it. We gotta make Cena bury the Wyatt family because he lost to Brock Lesnar and people would lose faith in him. And that mainly means that you get punched in the face for suggesting such a stupid idea. What? You mean the boss came up with this idea and creative team had another idea for Bray Wyatt to look strong? Huh. Well then, I guess I get to punch Vince McMahon in the face. Now, I would not really punch Vince McMahon in the face. One, he's 70 years old at this point. He's lost his mind enough as it is. And two, I don't feel like getting arrested. Whatsoever. And also, I'd be, quote, assaulting an old man. That really looks messed up. And it is messed up. So, yeah. The one thing I did like is when CM Punk beat Cena 1, 2, 3, McMahon just closed his eyes and showed restrained emotion. That was actually, I've actually looked at that and I was like, okay, that's actually kind of unique. Because we've seen Vince go over the top, go crazy, wanting to tear his hair out, literally at times, and do outlandish things, but we've never seen Vince restrained emotion state. And I think Vince realized that and then quickly went back into over-the-top mode. And then went into distraught mode, but still with an over-the-top sense. But I did like that moment when he was just closing his eyes and breathing in deeply, like he was like, okay, I gotta keep calm. Okay, we got Alberto Del Rio. Okay, I got it. Alberto Del Rio will save the day. And he ordered Alberto Del Rio, and he almost said that guy like he didn't even know who he was. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me, actually. To cash in his Raw contract on Punk, when Del Rio ran out and tried to cash in his contract, Punk did his roundhouse kick on Del Rio before he could do so. And then CM Punk blew a kiss to Vince McMahon and fled the arena and left as WWE champion. Oh my god, this match was awesome, like I said. And the story made so much sense to me. And here's the thing. I honestly like to say that this is the match that didn't need weaponry based. Like, if they did this with Triple H and Randy Orton at WrestleMania 25, but there was just one major problem. They built it up as a violent storyline, but in this case, this wasn't a violent storyline. This was promo-based, not violent-based. The same mistake happened with Roman Reigns and Triple H at WrestleMania 32. And Cena had this level of heat with the fans that you can say is at the top 5 at best. I think at number 3. The second is Vince McMahon after Montreal Screwjob, and the first is Roman Reigns after defeating The Undertaker and retiring him at WrestleMania. Yeah. And this was also, I believe, the first match since... I'm trying to remember. I think Dave Meltzer gave it a 5-star out of 5. The first match he's ever given a 5-star out of 5 since the Hell in a Cell match between Undertaker and Shawn Michaels in their first ever Hell in a Cell match back in 97. So that really said a lot about this match. Like, if this match broke the streak of no 5-star matches in Dave Meltzer's mind, I'm pretty sure that means heavily about what would have been. So this really should have led to a Summer of Punk storyline. Like, that's what everyone calls it nowadays. But when you look back on it, yeah. But before I get into that, in WWE's documentary CM Punk Best in the World, which was released a year after Money in the Bank, it was documented from the out-of-universe perspective that a disenchanted Punk rejected signing a new contract for more than a year leading up to Money in the Bank. After being persuaded by Joey Mercury and Lars Frederiksen that he could only help wrestlers underappreciated by WWE, like himself, if he stayed, Punk signed a new contract about an hour before capturing the WWE Championship from Cena while the pay-per-view event was ongoing. Yeah, that was kind of unique. Like, in storyline, Punk didn't sign a contract, and then he would later on. But in reality, he didn't sign that contract until an hour before his big matchup. Yeah. So if I was to make the best guess, I'd say he signed it during the Raw Money in the Bank ladder match. And this would thought everyone would lead to this great storyline with Punk going to other shows, like doing what he promised after he left. See, because following after Punk left the Allstate Arena with the championship belt, celebrity website TMZ pictured him showing off his newly won belt in the streets of Chicago with Colt Cabana and Ace Steel. And then Vince McMahon ordered a 8-man tournament the next night on Raw to crown a new champion, which included all the participants from the Raw Money in the Bank ladder match except Evan Bourne, whose place was filled by Dolph Ziggler. The Miz and Rey Mysterio made it to the tournament finals, which Vince McMahon postponed so he could fire John Cena as a result of the conditions imposed on the Money in the Bank match. So Triple H then interrupted before Vince McMahon could do the whole world a favor and fire John Cena. Triple H interrupted and announced that the WWE Board of Directors had removed Vince McMahon from power with a vote of no confidence, and that Triple H was to take over the day-to-day operations of WWE, and Triple H refused to fire Cena. So then afterwards, Punk would show up at Gatecrash, the joint WWE Mattel panel at San Diego Comic-Con International with the title belt in hand. He confronted Triple H and took exception to WWE attempting to crown a new WWE champion. 2 days later, Punk made a surprise appearance at a show hosted by All American Wrestling Company without his title to endorse Gregory Iron, a wrestler with cerebral palsy, as an inspiration for overcoming his impediment. And afterwards, everyone assumed that this would lead to this big reign where he would go ahead, not come back for a while, then come back, and ultimately wrestling other companies in order to give the fact that this was real. Yeah, Rey Mysterio won the tournament to become the new WWE champion and immediately had to fend off Del Rio from cashing in, and now Triple H decreed that Mysterio was to face Cena later that night, and Cena won again and became WWE champion. So we're right back where we started, aren't we? And then Punk made an unannounced return with the old WWE Championship belt to confront Cena. It was only 2 weeks he was gone. Okay. That's not what should have happened. He should have been in Ring of Honor, then go to New Japan Pro Wrestling, then go to other wrestling companies that WWE should have done. They should have done this storyline where Punk went to these various other promotions and defended the WWE Championship belt. In fact, I'm going to say it, and this might piss off some people, but TNA did it better because they had Styles take the TNA World Heavyweight belt and wrestle other places, and then come back and drop the belt. But no, they didn't do that. This is what TNA did in their copycat version of the similar Punk storyline with the fall of AJ Styles. Yeah, take that out. Yeah, some people are going to take that out of context. And, okay, this could still be salvaged. I would have went with Rey Mysterio keeping the belt till SummerSlam, and then leading to this whole storyline where you got Del Rio, you got a bunch of other wrestlers disenfranchised with Cena, the fact that Cena gets his opportunity at the belt while everyone else has to get in the back of the line because Cena is the guy that face that runs the place mentality. But Cena and Punk would later fight in a match at SummerSlam to crown the undisputed WWE champion. So there were 3 world champions, Punk and Cena and Christian. And controversially, they once again protected Cena because Triple H was the special guest referee and didn't see Cena's leg on the rope. Yeah. Okay, so Punk's champion again. He's undisputed. Therefore, let's begin this big reign. No, Kevin Nash assaulted him and made his return. And then Del Rio cashed in his Money in the Bank contract and pinned Punk to become new champion after kicking Punk in the head. Oh gosh, so many problems with this. Like, a lot of people like to say that Night of Champions 2011 was the destruction of the CM Punk storyline. Really, I think the storyline really ran off the rails when they went with this route. They decided to do this chaotic storyline instead with The Miz, R-Truth, Cena, Nash, Triple H, and CM Punk. And also later on The Rock. So, yeah, I think like everything went off the rails when SummerSlam happened. Not when Triple H beat Punk. Like, that didn't help. I'll get to that in another video, but yeah. And as we all know about Punk's future with WWE, we know what that would have been. Yep. So, those were my thoughts on CM Punk vs. John Cena at Money in the Bank 2011. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. So if you like, comment, subscribe, and donate, stay tuned for more.